Hi everyone, and welcome to Diverse Dividends, where my goal is to bring you closer to the extraordinary people who are having an impact on our industry. I'm Sarah Loree, Institutional Portfolio Manager at CI Assante Management. And in today's episode, my guest is a leader who's not only having an impact at work, but also having an impact in his community. Sean Etherington, President at CI Assante. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
My pleasure, Sarah.
The pleasure is mine. So CI Assante is one of Canada's largest independent wealth management firm with over 66 billion in asset under management and over 600 wealth management team. So in today's episode, Sean will take us through his career path. He'll share a bit of leadership wisdom. And of course, he will tell us how he's having such a big impact in his community, especially in creating awareness for Special Olympics via initiatives like Motionball, which he co-founded. If you don't know what Motionball is, well, make sure that you listen to the full episode. So with that, how about we get started?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So how about we start with your career path? So I am aware that you started at CI in 1999. So you've been there for quite some time. And now you've grown to become president of its wealth management arm. And so could you please tell us about the key milestones and experiences that shaped your journey to becoming president? And to add to that, was this something that you had envisioned for yourself from the very beginning?
Certainly. Well, look, when you put it so bluntly, 1999 feels like a long period of time. But one of the great things in my career was the continued evolution of CI as a business. I joined a mutual fund company that was fast growing, that was acquiring firms that sort of bought into the wealth management business with the acquisition of Assante in 2003. And it sort of pivoted. So what was a mutual fund company became this integrated wealth and asset management business with over 500 billion in assets. So the exciting thing for me was the opportunity within one organization through its growth to be presented with unique opportunities rather than stay in one sort of segment of the business. I think along the way, I had the opportunity to engage what I would call informal mentors, individuals that I connected with that provided really helpful input and advice at important moments in my life. And I'll give a call out to Bill Holland, who was a busy guy then. He is one today, and took the time to sit down with me and kind of gave me the nudge to join Assante. And this was back in 2004. I had come from the sales side, what we'd call GAM or CI GAM today. I moved over to Assante Asset Management before kind of taking on more dealership or true wealth responsibilities. So I think making sure I had opportunities to connect with leaders was really important. And as it relates to the roadmap and some knowledge in advance as to where I would end, not really. I sort of fell into the mutual fund industry. I started a different firm, had an opportunity to move to CI, created opportunity for myself, and ended up on the wealth side. So I think it's very hard to predict how everything plays out, but you just got to position yourself to succeed, and you start by, I think, doing your job well and connecting with your peers.
Oh, that's so interesting. And I love the notion of having mentors pushing you forward. I myself don't have a mentor per se, but in having these conversations with leaders like you, I gain so much insights that I think are really helping propelling me forward.
And that's when I refer to informal mentor, I think that there's a lot of people that you connect with, I would assume on a regular basis, that play that role a bit more casually, that can still be helpful. And I think that's a big opportunity for people to cultivate.
And can you speak to the notion of being open to opportunities as opposed to, having your eyes on the prize?
Look, I mean, I'm sure there's some individuals who know exactly where they want to go, and I commend them for it. I think life is full of flux, and I think I always was pretty comfortable understanding where I wanted to go next, and then creating the opportunity to ask for opportunity, if that makes any sense. I think you've got to time it right. You've got to deliver for your boss and their leaders, and know when to advocate for yourself. You don't want to be too early. You don't want to be too late. And you've got to be open to change. And I think typically, if in my career, if an opportunity presented itself and I was a little nervous about it, then I knew it was the right opportunity. Because if it felt too comfortable, then I wasn't stretching myself. And you've got to take that leap to really push yourself.
So were you ever given a promotion or work opportunity where you felt a bit of imposter syndrome even?
Yeah, look, when I became president of Asante, it was in 2017. I'd worked at the dealer for since 2004, and I came on the heels of great leadership. And I was given the opportunity, and I remember the discussion with Peter Anderson and Steve Donald at the time, and it was exciting. I felt ready, but it's like, wow, it's really happening. So yes, I think if you don't, then maybe you're not being completely honest, at least in my experience.
Oh, no, thank you for being so honest about it. I think that it's something that comes up often that perhaps people don't talk about too much, but like I feel it
Yeah.
here and there, and I'm like, I'm going to work on this, but should I be doing that?
Everyone
Right?
thinks that, and I think humility is a strong value. So I think there's nothing wrong with it. It's normal.
Well, from my perspective, you are definitely a proven leader, so
Thank you.
no doubts about that. I think that it's a good segue to my next question on leadership. I'd love for you to share a bit of leadership wisdom, but first, I'd really like to know about your leadership style and how it's evolved over the years.
For me, I think, perhaps it's normal for everybody, but I think over time you really trust your instincts, your gut more and more. I think particularly when you start, you might look to past leaders and try and replicate parts of what they do. And then you just kind of grow into your shoes. And I think that evolves through your various leadership opportunities. So I think that is probably one of the traits that I would point out to. And I think as you take on more leadership roles, you start to think more of the enterprise. So a big part of my role is Asante, but I also look after our private wealth business and co-head Canadian wealth. So, you have to lift your head up to see opportunity from what is a direct all the way through a private wealth business. And I think the more time you have in the chair, you just think more broadly.
Yeah,
and you have the time to, because you've got a great team that's doing a lot of the work.
But you've built that team, so
Yeah.
kudos to you. Yeah, and when it comes to leadership, for example, I don't have any direct reports, but I like to think of myself as a leader. Even when I was in elementary school, I was a leader. It's always been part of my personality. So at work, even though I don't have a team, I work as part of a team, but I don't necessarily shy away from, starting new initiatives or proposing new ideas, new ways of doing things, because I do think about the business, and then from that standpoint, I do think of myself as.
And I agree. You don't need to have a team to be a leader, to have an impact on a company. And look at all you're doing in your spare time with the CFA Institute. So I think you've got that quality in spades.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Okay, so in terms of, again, related to your leadership style, as president of CI Assante, co-head of the Canadian Wealth arm of CI, you are responsible for really setting the culture, setting the vision and influencing the culture, I would say. And I do want to hear about what CI Assante's core value proposition is and what makes it different than other firms, just given the incredible success that you've had. But before we get to that, can you tell me how you come up with that vision, how you come up with that core value proposition? What was the process behind it?
Yeah, like from my perspective, it's a few things. One, you have to have a sense of the core value proposition of the firm and the culture of the firm, because I think as a leader, you want to develop and enhance that. You just can't come in and change things overnight. So I think a good awareness of where we've come from, what our philosophy and focus is. And then you've got to be aware of trends in the industry. So they might be demographic, it might be technological, it might be competitive forces, and it might be regulation. And how do you position your firm effectively to succeed in an ever-changing environment? And I think you have to marry that with a connectivity to your clients, our advisors and the clients that they support, and what they expect. So my leadership style is very collaborative. I have clear purpose and vision, but I'm very comfortable asking the team for input as we shape our decisions.
Wonderful. And that leads me to my next question. What is CI Assante's core value proposition and what makes it different?
So the delivery of complete financial advice is something that Assante has always had as a core part of our DNA, well before my time. And I think over time that the concept of wealth management, or what many refer to, multifamily office service capability, has become common speak. But it's something that we believe in So the advisors that are coming to Assante want to work for a full service, independent or non-bank wealth management firm that provides tools and capability to deliver complete financial advice at capacity. So it might be technology, it might be field planning support, it might be coaching, sharing of best practices is a big part of our culture, where advisors realize that they can elevate themselves in the firm by sharing their secret sauce. And I think that makes us pretty special. So advisors that come to us want to lean into that culture. And I think that's allowed us to grow to the 66 billion you referenced.
Yes, and that's quite a high number. So yes, 66 billion, over 600 wealth management teams. So from that standpoint, it's clear that you have a vision for the culture of the firm. So how do you ensure that each advisor and their team feel well supported, while also being able to remain independent? Because I can only imagine that each team also has their own value proposition
so look, advisors are principal agents. They're independent business owners who plug into our branding and our back office to deliver services to their clients. So we have to execute on that. But we spend a lot of time together with our team, with our advisors. I have our national council coming in next week. We have our regional councils. We have an administrative council. We have a tech council. And when we do a lot of events, our national conferences, regional PD events, our Advantage Assembly, we invest in spending time with our advisors. I think we have a very flat organization by design. Advisors are very comfortable reaching out to me. I want them to reach out, things that are going well, things that we could do better. And I think if they understand that we're partners in this together, they'll share their voice. They'll be honest, and we can move the business forward collectively, because we need each other.
It's so incredible for me to hear you talk about those things, because as I read about different company profiles, they always say, here's who we are, here's what we do, but to really understand what drove that and how you put it in action, it just feels good to hear.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe it. I know it's happening because I see it. Because we work for the same organization. We work for sister companies. So it's just incredible.
Thank you.
To hear where it came from. So now I'd like to segue to your community involvement. So as I mentioned, Sean, yes, he's a proven leader at work, and I think that we can all attest to that by now. But he's also a leader in his community, and he's been very well recognized for it. He's won multiple awards, including more recently one from the Governor General, which really aims to recognize incredible individuals who are truly having an impact on the community. So before I dive into it, congratulations.
Thank you, Sarah.
And it's definitely one of the reasons why I'm so happy to have you on board today, because I knew there was something about you, but as I started doing more research on your profile, I was like, yes, I'm really looking forward to having this conversation. So I guess my next question is very simple. So who are you outside of work? What passions drive you?
Family and community impact, I guess, would be the two ones that I focus on. My family is the most important thing to me, bar none. But a close second is community. And I grew up in a family that just saw the importance of giving back. My parents are very involved with Special Olympics, which is what we ultimately support. And we grew up involved in all their events over the years. They're still very active. And when my brothers and I graduated, I'm the middle of three, we decided we wanted to have our own impact and put our thumbprint on the Special Olympics movement. So we created this organization called Motionball for Special Olympics. And we raise money and awareness for Special Olympics, so individuals with an intellectual disability, through integrated social and sporting events. And much like my career, what started, we didn't really have a concept of where it would end up. But now we're a national organization. We're on 35 university campuses, 20 city events. We've donated over $20 million. And maybe more importantly, we've raised an army of volunteers, because it's a volunteer organization, who are passionate about Special Olympics, who give of their time and create meaningful opportunities for Special Olympics, which is pretty cool.
That's incredible. And I should mention that, or maybe I can let you talk to it. So what are the main events that are organized under the Motionball?
So look, our flagship event is called the Marathon of Sport. We have a lot of corporate organizations that are involved, because it's a great way to connect to your staff. So a corporation will bring out 10 individuals to a team. We have a local Toronto event, and it's a day of sport, and the attendees raise money via pledging if there's not a corporate fee. And at the beginning of the day, the whole concept is integration. So a Special Olympics athlete is on every team. And at the beginning of the day, if someone hasn't spent time with an individual with an intellectual disability, they don't necessarily know how to react, behave. But the beauty of sport and inclusion is that by the end of the day, everyone's just playing with a teammate. So you're just high-fiving as you would anyone else. And the Special Olympic athletes do such a wonderful job of advocating for themselves and their cause that we just amplify this army of support who are passionate about Special Olympics and turn around a great event at the same time. CI's been a sponsor since inception in 2002. And for CI, they believe in the cause, but they really enjoy the employee engagement, because for a lot of companies, it's okay, philanthropy is important, but we have to get something out of it because there's so many worthy causes. Give me a chance to bring my staff out and really immerse in the cause as an activation opportunity.
That's really, really incredible. I mean, I didn't know about it, and
you're going to have to come out next year now. You realize that.
I'm not very good at sports.
Well, you know what? It's okay. It's not about winning. It's just about playing. And we have other events. Like the last thing I'll say, we have a gala. It's coming up the Friday, February the 3rd, if I got that date correct. It's at the Liberty Grand. That's a fundraiser. We'll have a lot of athletes there, but it's one of the best nights in the city. It's at the Liberty Grand. We take over 3 ballrooms, live acts, DJs, open bar, silent auction, just having fun in support of Special Olympics.
I have actually been to one of those galas before my time at CI, and I had so much fun.
Yeah, good. Okay, we'll get you back.
It's just a good party in general.
Yeah.
So how do you view your responsibilities as a community leader?
Look, I mean, from an Assante perspective, our advisors are very active in their communities. So one of the things we've done recently is create an award that recognizes, as voted by their peers, an advisor each and every year for their impact in their community. So providing people with the opportunity to elevate their contribution is important. And then, from a Motionball perspective, I think, impact is everything. And the ability to bringing young professionals who want meaningful leadership opportunities and giving them a platform to deliver real value and stretch their leadership skills, organize a volunteer team it's pretty neat to see the ripple effect. And these individuals may not stay connected to Motionball or Special Olympics forever, and that's fine too. They'll go on and create their own not-for-profits and you don't have to create a charity to have an impact. You could attend an event, you could just help a person. There's so many different ways to do it.
Yeah, I mean, from what you're saying, one of the biggest key takeaways for me is that, being a leader is not a thing that only happens at work. It's not a thing that only happens when you manage a team. And 100%. There's so many different ways of having an impact from that standpoint. And it can definitely happen outside of the office, having an impact on communities.
Well said.
And I just find it incredible. So with that in mind, it's clear that you have had and continue to have a lot of success professionally, but also outside of work. So can you please tell me what success means to you, and both at the office, outside of the office, and how you balance the two?
For me, it's about impact, I guess. If I choose a word, outcomes and impact. From a business perspective, you want to run a profitable, growing business that delivers real value to your customers and your clients. Everyone has KPIs and things that we tracked, so you could determine if you're having an impact, and if you would enable your team, support them with the right tools to do the same thing. And it's no different from a family or community perspective. I think that ripple effect that we all have in society at large is based upon shared goals and purpose. And I think if you can lean into all of those, then I think it's a good outcome for all.
That's incredible. Sean, this concludes all the questions that I have for you. However, we have a tradition on Diverse Dividends where I ask each of our guests the same 3 questions.
Okay.
So I call them dividend questions, but you can view them as rapid fire questions. So
Great.
the 3 same questions, the idea is that you answer them somewhat quickly, and the goal is for our listeners to really reap dividends from our conversation. I'm sure that they gained a lot of insights from you already, but this is just kind of the a little bit of extra.
I love it. I'm
Perfect.
ready.
You ready? Okay, good. So number one, what do you love about what you do?
Look, I love working with people on a shared purpose, clear objectives, and the ability to measure that, focus on outcomes. But at the end of the day, a big part of leadership for me is developing talent. I've brought in phenomenal people that do a lot of the heavy lifting, and watching them succeed to a shared objective is pretty neat for me.
Cool. Number two, what's one thing that you've changed your mind on recently?
Maybe stretching the timeline of recently, but I would say hybrid work. I mean, before COVID, I hadn't even turned on Teams. COVID hit and the world changed and we had technology. I've always believed in flexibility, but I think it's been a good thing. I'm office first still, so I still believe that hybrid should be office first, depending on the business and the type of team that you have. But I recognize that if you hire good people, they'll be efficient wherever you set them up. And you just got to give them the flexibility to be their best person.
Like that. And number three, what's one advice that you have for our listeners who are looking to advance in their career?
On the heels of that, I would say with hybrid work, consider not coming in if it's relevant for the minimum amount of days. Consider aligning your time in the office with your manager or the people that you want to be around. And I think it's something that I've already told both of my daughters. You can connect remotely, you can connect via Teams or Zoom, but the opportunity to have a conversation with a human being, to even that informal discussion that might happen in the elevator or the hallway, those can be meaningful opportunities. So everyone's circumstances are different, but just give it a thought if it's of interest.
Wonderful. Well, that's a wrap. From my standpoint, the biggest key takeaway from this conversation was all about leadership and the impact that you can have on your community while still being that leader. And so I hope that you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And truly, Sean, I thought it was inspiring. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.